This summer, join us for the most politically correct action movie of the year. A tale of tampons, of man-pons, of a man who dodged the war on terror but fought a war against masculinity. Admits Walz is the full plastic applicator.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. We're going to talk about tampon teasy. Not being Tim Walz is flooding the intro webs and how the Harris administration is backpedaling on his so-called stolen valor. Shout out to everybody watching. Truly appreciate it. Everybody watching, drop your comments in the comment section. Go ahead and smash the like button and the subscribe. While you're dropping the comments, let me know where you're watching this out of. Truly, truly appreciate each and every single one of you. I really, really do. Super grateful to have you guys abroad. So the plastic applicator is launching this summer. Let's jump into why not being Tim Walz is flooding the intro webs. Share screen with y'all. Boom. Here we go. All right. So not being Tim Walz, tampon teasy is flooded with pictures of veterans serving the country since he ducked combat in Iraq. Social media flooded with pictures of veterans serving the country following reports of Democratic vice presidential nominee, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz ducking combat in Iraq. Shout out to everybody who is a veteran who is watching or who is gonna soon be in the military of service. Shout out to everybody. On Wednesday on X, that read, not being Tim Walz was trending. It was a viral topic with veterans posting a lot of different pictures of them in air cockpits, war-torn countries, armored vehicles, so on and so forth. This is one of the photos. Vets, post your photos of you not being Tim Walz. One of the photos had 3 photos in the post that read, the photo is me calling my daughter while I was in Afghanistan, for 4 years. So here's that photo there. This was trending on the intro webs. And the other thing is why, some people have asked, why are they calling him tampon teasy? Why are we calling him tampon teasy? Republicans are calling tampon teasy because he had a bill with inclusive language that reflects not all people who menstruate are men. Or, sound like Joe Biden right now. The bill had inclusive language reflects that not all people who menstruate are women. Not all women get periods, which is important to those lobbying against the legislation. Some Minnesota Republicans initially tried to limit the initiative to female-assigned and gender-neutral bathrooms, but were unsuccessful. Even the author, blah, 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 here we go. So he passed a legislative bill to put tampons in middle school bathrooms, in male middle school bathrooms. So this is why tampon teasy is called tampon teasy. Veteran who served with Tim Walz battalion addressed the stolen value accusations are far deeper than what people think. Absolutely. Let's jump into this.
Meet Timmy Tampon Walz, a man who turned his back on the battlefield of Iraq but found himself on the front lines of a different war, right here at home. His mission, to place free tampons in every men's room in Minnesota.
So based on a lot of people coming out on the internet, his service concluded when he retired from his unit in Minnesota in the Minnesota National Guard right before deployment in Iraq in 2005. The New York Post reported the Minnesota National Guard told Fox Walz unit was not given deployment orders to Iraq until July, and he said that his retirement papers in 5 to 7 months prior to his retirement in May 2005. This is some of the accusations that are coming out for Timmy Walz, Tim. And he has a lot of press release stating that he held weapons of war. And we're going to get into that here shortly. Here is actually one of the clips. Let me, boom, share screen here. So this is actually one of the clips. This is one of the clips that Tim Walz.
Hope woke up like many of you did 5 weeks ago and Dad said, Dad, you're the only person I know who's in elected office. You need to stop what's happening with this. I'll take my kick in the butt for the NRA. I spent 25 years in the Army and I hunt. And I gave the money back, and I'll tell you what I have been doing. I've been voting for common sense legislation that protects the Second Amendment, but we can do background checks. We can do CDC research. We can make sure we don't have reciprocal carry among states, and we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
What weapons of war did you actually carry, Timmy? What weapons of war did you actually carry?
He has particularly angered veterans like me with previous claims surfacing that he actually went to war.
Back in 2005, a warning order went out to the 1st Battalion, 125th Field Artillery to mobilize for a mission to Iraq. At the time, Walz served as the unit's highest non-commissioned officer, but months later, Walz would retire from the Guard, avoid the deployment, and run for Congress.
He abandoned us, I mean, what the hell kind of leader does that? I mean, he just, as soon as the shots were fired in Iraq, he turned and ran the other way and hung his hat up and quit.
But that didn't stop him a few years ago when he was campaigning, saying, oh, I'd gone to war.
I've been voting for common sense legislation that protects the Second Amendment, but we can do background checks. We can do CDC research, and we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
Well, I wonder, Tim Walz, when were you ever in war? What was this weapon that you carried into war, given that you abandoned your unit right before they went to Iraq, and he has not spent a day in a combat zone?
There is no evidence that at any time Governor Walz was in a position of being shot at, and some of his language could easily be seen to suggest that he was. So that is absolutely false.
He refers to himself as an enduring freedom veteran for Kerry.
I'm a retired sergeant major. I was an artilleryman. I deployed in support of Operation Enduring Freedom.
The Department of Defense does not qualify him as somebody who's recipient of the Enduring Freedom title.
Do not pretend to be something that you're not.
And here we go.
How could you be so sure?
Congressman's website, his official biography, says simply that he was mobilized with the battalion in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. Without any other details, don't you think it's reasonable?
This was back in 2009 when press went up to Minnesota and talked to the folks up there.
People might assume that means he served in Afghanistan. There's a huge difference between being deployed to a base in Italy and being in the combat zone in Afghanistan. Under current U.S. law, this could get the congressman probably thrown in jail in violation of the 2006 Stolen Valor Act, which says it is a crime, a federal crime, to portray yourself in writing or verbally as having received an award or decoration authorized by Congress that you didn't receive.
Well, well, well.
Arrest him.
Arrest him!
Please arrest him.
What do you guys think about that? Drop your comments down below. Harris's campaign right now is backpedaling. They are backpedaling. Let's jump into what Jesse Waters has to say. And then we'll jump into Harris's campaign backpedaling. Drop your comments down below. Smash the like button. Really appreciate you guys.
Known Tim Walz for less than a week, and we've already found out he let rioters burn down cities, lied about his military service, crushed small businesses, and turned Minnesota into a child sex change sanctuary. But that's not it. Tonight, we're dropping another Walz bombshell. As governor, Walz let a gang of politically connected Somali fraudsters steal $250 million of your money.
Whoa.
It was the single biggest COVID scam in American history. During the pandemic, the government was giving out money left and right. A nonprofit in Minnesota, Feeding Our Future, got $250 million to send food to needy kids. Sounds good, right? Here's the problem. Almost none of it was used for food. The Somali scammers blew our cash on real estate, cars, extravagant get trips. We have wire transfers that show thousands going to car dealerships. $160,000 went to some company in China. And $500,000 was sent to Kenya to buy an apartment. A $500,000 apartment in Kenya is probably a palace. But our tax dollars weren't just used on goodies. The politicians got a taste too. Ilhan Omar got thousands of dollars in donations from some of the scammers. These guys weren't criminal masterminds. It was sloppy. When they cooked the books, they made up names of their fake clients. They came up with these names. Are you ready? Unique Problem. Friday Donations.
What?
How'd nobody catch that? Well, early on, Walz's administration thought it looked a little suspicious, so they froze the funds. Then the Somalis sued and called Walz racist, so he kept letting them steal. They didn't bother to crack into the bank accounts or issue subpoenas. Walz just put his hands in the air and said, I'm not racist. Take whatever you want. Minnesota has a huge Somali population. You can't get called racist and expect to win another election there. Walz even gave one of the fraudsters the Minnesota Outstanding Refugee Award. 3 years later, she was indicted. No thanks to Walz, the feds came in after he ignored the problem for years. During the trial, the Somalis tracked down a juror and dropped off a Hallmark bag on their doorstep, filled with 120 G's, and a little note saying there's more to come if she acquits.
Wow. What do you guys think about that? Drop the comments down below.
This all happened under Walz's nose.
That is insane.
This all happened under Walz's nose. He had every chance to stop it and failed. Just like he failed to protect his city during the riots, and just like he failed his unit when he retired before deployment. This is the guy Kamala Harris chose as her number 2. Donna Bergstrom ran against Walz for lieutenant governor in 2018. Donna, how did he win after all of this stuff is coming out about him? This, and this. How is this possible?
It is astonishing, isn't it? And thank you for having me here, Jesse. This is really a pleasure. I'm so happy that people are finally bringing this out about our governor. We've known about this for a long time. And one of the things that's truly astonishing about this is not just the numbers and the level of the fraud, but actually that he takes no responsibility for it. There hasn't been anybody that's been removed or put on administrative leave so that they can look into these issues. And this is just really the tip of the iceberg. There's Medicare fraud, there was daycare fraud, there was an autism support fraud, there was workers' compensation pay fraud. So, you know, his middle name must be fraud, because here we see it over and over again. And it's truly astonishing.
So Tim, under Tim's nose, these Somali identity pirates scammed $250 million. They caught them, and then he got called racist, so he backed off, and then didn't fire anybody. Never fired a single person for getting ripped off more than any other state in the country during COVID?
That's my understanding of it, and that's what I believe is his stance, is that he did nothing wrong, and that you'll see his pattern over and over. He'll point to somebody else and put the blame on somebody else. So it fits this pattern, and I saw it in 2018 as well. He just has this pattern of appeasing whoever he's talking to, whatever audience he's with. So he'd come up here to Northeast Minnesota. I'm in Duluth right now, but he'd come up to Northeast Minnesota with a mining T-shirt, and then go down to the metro area, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and he'd have an anti-mining T-shirt on.
Sounds like somebody we know, named Kamala.
So it fits this pattern that he's going to just...
Oh, I want to shout out everybody also that's sending memes and names of the presidential candidates and of Kamala Harris and Tampon Teasy. Continue to send them over. I've gotten some hilarious ones. Unfortunately, I can't share them on here, but they are hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Do or say whatever he has to do to keep himself in power, keep himself elected, not really take responsibility for good government at all.
Yeah, he wears a lot of costumes. We're figuring that out. Sonny, thank you so much.
Now, the Harris administration, Harris campaign admits Tim Walz misspoke about his past military career as criticism grows. Vice President Harris Vice President's presidential campaign admits Friday that her running mate, Governor Tim Walz, misspoke. Now they're backpedaling about his past military service as growing choirs of criticism accuse him of stolen valor. Governor Walz would never insult or undermine any American service in this country. In fact, he thanks Senator Vance for putting his life on the line for our country. It's the American way, Team Harris said in a statement to NBC News Friday. In making the case for why weapons of war should never be used on the streets in our classrooms, the governor misspoke. He did handle weapons of war and believes strongly that only military members trained to carry these deadly weapons should have access to them, unlike Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, who prioritized gun lobbying over children. What are you guys' thoughts? Harris administration, backpedal, baby. Just backpedal. We didn't say that. We didn't say that he was in war. He totally misspoke. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you misunderstood what he was saying. Sounds a little like gaslighting to me. Walz has been facing pressure to clarify his military record after a 2018 video surfaced of him regarding his career in the National Guard as a reason for increased gun control. He makes sure that those weapons of war that I carry, we want to make sure that the weapons of war that I carried, this is what he said. This is from the video that I just showed you. From the weapons of war that I carried is the only place where those weapons are at. Walz said in that clip that I showed you, which was posted on Harris's own campaign on X on an account on Tuesday. While Walz, Tampon Teasy, served 24 years in the National Guard, he never saw combat in war and infamously retired from his unit shortly before they deployed in Iraq. Walz said he bolted so he could run for Congress. Walz also faced heat from veterans embellishing about his rank. The two-term governor of Minnesota has long identified himself as retired commander sergeant major. But we all know that this is false because he retired as a master sergeant. Senator J.D. Vance, from President Donald Trump's running mate, also looked to capitalize on this issue. What bothers me about Tim Walz is this stolen valor garbage. Do not pretend to be something that you're not. This is what JD Vance said at a rally. I'd be ashamed if I were him and if I lied about my military service. You don't need to lie to the public and embellish what you've done in order to get votes. Just be truthful. This is one of the big things that is distraught to me. You don't need to lie to the people. And this goes on with Kamala Harris too. Kamala Harris isn't necessarily lying. She's just hiding like Biden, baby. And this is an interesting video that I saw on X. I'm going to share this. This individual is stating, and they've ran this. They ran this image through an AI generation tool to check to see the authenticity of the video, and it's coming back that most of the imagery is AI generated. And I want to get your thoughts on this. So this gentleman is claiming, and a lot of people, I've seen this across the intro webs, but check this out.
Harry Sisson has now resorted to using AI images to try to act like people support Kamala Harris. This was his recent tweet. Hope, dedication, patriotism. That's the Kamala Harris campaign. The Kamala Harris campaign also seems to be AI generated. This is not a real picture. Let's take a closer look. First of all, none of their phones are recording the same shit. This dude looks like he's watching a video on the hub. I have no clue what this person's watching. This dude is apparently zoomed in on two people having a conversation. Not to mention, AI still has trouble doing hands. Because if this is a real hand, something is broken. Not to mention, this person is filming that person's phone, apparently. This person is watching a video with captions. This person thinks the sky is really important. But this is very obviously not real. Do you understand how shitty your candidate has to be to resort to using AI? The worst part is this isn't even the first time we've caught them doing this. But in Harry's defense, this is the first time he's done it. This is the first time he's used AI to try to lie to people. I mean, he has no problem lying to people, but this is the first time he used AI to do it. Harry, look, I know it's not your fault, man. I know Midas Touch or Act Blue just sent you this and said you had to post it. And if you didn't, you weren't getting paid. But bro, look at the fucking picture next time.
What do you guys think about that? Holy smokes. Drop your comments down below. We got Tampon Teasy with the stolen valor. Now Harris campaign is backpedaling. Now they're using AI generated images. And as of last night, they were also posting images from 2 hours prior to the Trump rally in Bozeman and saying that the stadium was empty, but this was 2 hours prior to. All great content. Really appreciate you guys. Drop your comments down below. Smash that like button. Other than that, guys, I will catch you on the next one.